What's up, guys? Today I actually want to share with you a story that I've actually never told the public before. Now this story is going to be about my Amazon FBA success story, which some people are going to find this to be awesome, and some people are going to find this very, very sad and maybe even discouraging. But I'm going to walk you through the whole story. It's a crazy one. I've probably only told about 5 to 10 people in my life this story, my first year on Amazon. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult of a video for me, but I'll get through it just one step at a time. By the end of it, you probably guys are going to be a little bit mind blown, and it's going to feel really good for me to kind of get off my chest a little bit and hopefully encourage some of you guys out there, that business isn't necessarily linear. It's very bumpy and everything like that. But before I share to you how I made my first $1.3 million on Amazon back in 2017, I kind of want to tell you the backstory. I know a lot of you guys are probably gonna be like, I just want to get right to it, but I think the backstory is important to kind of take you along just a little journey here of about what really happened my first year doing millions of dollars on Amazon. So to take you back to the beginning here a little bit, back in 2016, I was actually running my second year of this franchise called College Pro Painters. Now this franchise, some people may be familiar with it, some may not be, but this franchise is for college students because I was back in the University of Iowa. I was actually an engineering student, and my goal was to be a civil engineer, but I was broke, right? I had no money. I was working 40 plus hours a week. I'd work Chick-fil-A on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I'd go up to another town about 45 minutes away, my hometown, and I work at a warehouse on Saturday and Sunday while I was going to college, right? So this was a grind for me, but it was a dream for me to be in college. To go to the University of Iowa has always been my dream, and to be a civil engineer. So I was trying to make that happen. I was going through the grind. So my third year of college, in the second semester, a buddy came up to me. It's actually, we're still very, very close friends to this day. And he told me that a friend of ours, we worked together back in high school, was making, crazy amounts of money, like $65,000 a year doing this College Pro Painters business. I'm like, what? That doesn't sound right. That can't be true. College student making 65K, I don't believe it. And he actually agreed. He's like, yeah, I don't really believe it either, but I kind of want to check it out. So he went and worked with him over the summer and came back and he's like, hey man, this is real. This is a real thing. He's making a lot of money with it. Do you want to do this with me next year? And he was actually in a different college than me, a different town, so he's going to do it in that town. I was going to do it in my town. So I was like, sure, I'll check this out. So I got hooked up with the franchise manager or like the division leader or something like that. He had some title for the area, and he made me a franchise manager and my buddy a franchise manager there. And so what we did is we actually painted houses. So we go knock on doors. And we'd find people who wanted free estimates for their house, to get a quote of to see how much their house would take to get painted, right? And so we did that. In the first year, it was a grind. I actually didn't make a sale until like 3 or 4 months in, which was really disheartening. But I was putting the work in. I'm one of those people who, if I keep failing, I just get deeper into it because I get a little bit obsessed. And at the same time, my buddy up in his college town is killing it. He's like leading the division in sales. It's his first year and everything like that. So I'm getting a little jealous and a little competitive. So I keep grinding, and finally things click for me, thank gosh. It clicked for me, about 3 or 4 months in. I started making a ton of sales, and then I ended up doing around $150,000 worth of sales, and then actually painting those houses too. So I'd hire the crew, I'd make sure that the house is getting paid and the customers getting taken care of, make sure the checks are coming in, the employees getting paid. It was a real business with a lot of help, right? Because this College Pro Painters was meant to be for students and helping them out how to grow a business, things like that. So they'd help with payroll and help get all the essential tools up. But we did the marketing. We went and hung signs. We went and knocked on doors, got leads. I called them, right? I'd make sales pitches. I go to their house, do like an hour-and-a-half estimate. Mark my little measurements, and then come back with a proposal saying, this is what it's going to cost to paint your house. So long story short, I started making money for the first time in college, and I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. So I believe I made like $40,000 my first year doing that with revenue. Obviously, a lot got taken out with taxes and everything like that. But my second year, I was going bigger. I got a new area that was a lot wealthier, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna kind of make buku bucks this year. I ended up doing about $225,000 to $250,000, something like that, $250,000. Probably by the end of it, about $250,000 in sales and producing that. And then that brought me home about 60 to 80,000, and I couldn't believe it. I was blown away. At this point, I've done some internships for civil engineering and engineering in general. I didn't like it as much. I'm not one of those people who I don't like to get told what to do. It kind of rubs me the wrong way. High school is a challenge because of that, obviously, and school in general. But at this time, I realized I didn't want to be an engineer anymore. And I know you guys are hanging on here, but I'm going to get to the Amazon story, of course. I just think it's important to tell the whole story as a whole, to kind of see where it came from, and kind of how I got to $1.3 million my first year in Amazon. I promise you the story won't disappoint. So that final year of doing College Pro Painters, I was miserable. I was doing 80 hours a week. 60% of my employees would quit like every month. It was something ridiculous like that. It was terrible. It was just miserable. It was so much work. By the end of each season, I was kind of depressed. I get a little chunky. I guess chunky is an understatement. I gained like 30 pounds, 30, 40 pounds. I'm about 200 right now, 195. I get up to like 220, 230, and get pretty big. It's pretty big for me. And I got a couple pictures to show that. I'll try to find it for this video, but it's a little embarrassing. So if it's too bad, I won't put it up. But I knew I wanted to do business now, but I knew it wasn't that business. I knew that business was not scalable. It was miserable. People, yelling at me because we're not painting their house correctly, or they're the painting experts now, which I get. I was just in college. I'm pretty knowledgeable at painting, but I'm not, a super professional or anything like that. But after that year, I started exploring other ideas. What do I want to do? I don't want to do civil engineering anymore. I want to do business, but I don't want to work that much. What do I do? And my roommate actually, that winter going into 2017, he came up to me, he's like, hey Cam, did you know there's this business model where people are buying products in China, shipping them over and selling them on Amazon, getting them in an Amazon warehouse and selling them on Amazon. I was like, what? That sounds even sketchier than the painting business I just ran. And so I dug into it a little bit. Me and my buddy who actually did this with me and got me into it, we started working on it together and looking at it. And about 2 or 3 months in, we're like, oh, this seems pretty legit. This seems kind of cool. And so what we did was we actually started watching Jungle Scout videos. If you guys remember that, like the $1 Million Case Study, things like that back in early 2017. They were like the one and only software. I'm sure there's others, but they're the big one out there that was actually putting out content. And so we started watching all that, digging deep. And we had a little money in our pockets this time, so we're a little cocky. We're confident, like, oh, we can, paint houses and run a full business, have employees. We can do this, sell a product on Amazon, baloney and all that good stuff. So we got a little ahead of ourselves. We started buying products from China. We did like pizza stones, fidget spinners. How big a fad that was. What else we did? We had paracord bracelets. What else did we do? There's one more big one I'm missing, but we just started throwing products at the wall. And they weren't sticking, they weren't doing very well. The fidget spinners did okay, but our manufacturer was terrible. So we hit it like right when the demand was kind of going down, but there's still a little bit of demand left. And so we started selling like 10 to 20 a day, which is great. But then the 1-star reviews started rolling in just because our manufacturer was awful, just awful. We didn't know how to find a good manufacturer. And so what we did was we waited and got a new manufacturer that was better. And then we posted new ones on there, and then by then the demand was over, so we wasted $1,000 there, $1,000 on pizza stones. Remember the pizza stones coming from China? We got everything shipped to our house first to make sure that everything was good to go. We didn't really know how to get an inspection, get everything done, ready for the Amazon warehouse yet. And so all the pizza stones, 50% of them came broken. They're ceramic, right? And they're broken, just shattered into pieces. The boxes were all torn up. These are real heavy. And by the end of this, we probably spent $5,000 to $10,000 trying to figure this thing out, right? Which is not the smartest business savvy thing to do. But at the same time, when we're just throwing products up there, right? Spending money, throwing products up there. And we came across this product, and it was kind of a trendy product. It wasn't really doing any sales now, but it had potential to do sales later. And so what this product was actually solar eclipse glasses. And these glasses, we started sourcing them back in February, March, and the solar eclipse was in August 2017. I believe it was like the 17th to the 21st, August, mid-August, somewhere in that range. And so we're like, okay, let's bring these over. They're cheap to ship, right? Because they're really light. There's these welder's glasses, essentially, that are made out of cardboard you put on so you look at the solar eclipse when it's going down. And we're like, okay, let's bring these over. And so at this time, we actually moved down to Phoenix. We're in Iowa at that time. We moved down to Phoenix into a house with 5 buddies of ours, which was a fun experience. First time I've lived outside of Iowa, which if you're from the Midwest, you know it's a big step for a Midwesterner. So I was pretty excited. The sun was shining down there. And then we kept selling these things. We kept selling them, pushing them. We're learning as we're going, right? We're just going doubling down on them, which we weren't doing before. The sales weren't really there. There's no demand for them yet. And so we just kept pushing them because they're so cheap. We had thousands of them because we didn't do small orders. We did big orders like idiots. And then so, you know, we were giving away for free giveaways, trying to get more reviews, just giving away, you know, messing with our listing, trying to do PPC, we're learning with this product, which is good, but we're kind of learning without results, which is kind of scary, right? And so, you know, we actually took a road trip to California. We're driving up and down the coast. So went to LA, went to San Francisco, and just kind of drove the California coast and had a good time there. And by this time, me and Braden, Braden's a business partner. Hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing his name. But we both look at this seller app and we do like 10 to 20 sales a day. We're like, dude, this is starting to work. That's cool, right? We got really excited. And then, you know, every day after that, this was, you know, like May, I believe I said, April, May, somewhere in that range. And then every day after that, our sales would just go up a little bit. And by the end of it, you know, by the end of May or somewhere around there, we're doing, you know, a couple hundred, $200, $300 in sales per day. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. But they're not going to matter here once I get to the end. And so this started working, right? We started ranking up, getting more reviews, ranking up, as we get closer to August during the solar eclipse. And then June hit. Okay, so June was when things got weird. So we started doing like $10,000 days, $20,000 days. We're selling so many of these, and they're going out the door. We didn't know what to do. We're just buying more and more. We didn't have to do any inventory management. So we just bought, I believe we bought like 20 to 30,000 more of these things, brought them over. They started selling out even faster. We couldn't keep in stock for like a day or two. It was crazy. So we switched our listing over to FBM, fulfilled by merchant, if you guys don't know what that is. And so what happened was we'd backlog the delivery date. So we'd say they'd come in like 2 or 3 weeks. And that way we'd get a bunch of sales on FBM while we're out of FBA. And then what we do is we get some boxes, I guess 90% of the boxes sent to FBA that we're getting over from China, trying to catch up. And then 10% of the boxes would come to us, and we'd sit there and pick and pack those orders ourselves. And we'd probably had to do, in July as well, because things got even crazier. We probably packaged 3,000 to 4,000 units ourselves in this house, if not more. It was absolutely crazy. Got the roommates involved. We're going to the post office with like not truck fulls, but trunk fulls of these little, because they're little glasses, like we sold them in 5-packs and 10-packs. And we're selling these things in these little yellow bubble mailers. And so what we do is we just stuff them in there, we print the labels, and then we take them to the post office that was local to us. And every time we come to the post office, they get so mad. So we'd take their bins from the back and bring them over to our car and load them in. It was crazy. But we're doing just 14, 16-hour days of just doing this, in our living room. It was absolutely crazy. But then, we kept ordering more and ordering more. Luckily, we had the painting money to scale, right? It's very important to know, that you need money to be able to do a high volume product. And luckily, we had some from our painting businesses saved up, and we actually had tapped into some of our investments to keep pulling money out to push this product. And so we kept buying more and buying more. Maybe $80,000, $100,000 worth of goods by July we bought just for August. And then by July, we're doing $50,000, $60,000 days. These things were really cheap, really light in shipping, so we're doing like 60% profits. I'll put the sales up here, some of the sales stats I have from this time to show you guys once I can. And then August rolls around. By this time in August, okay, so there's an issue going on with solar eclipse classes. Now, solar eclipse classes, they have something called an ISO test. Now, an ISO test is just a standard of goods test that a lot of higher grade products have. And so our product didn't have it. Ours was from China. And our manufacturer, to kind of skip ahead a little bit, actually faked the documents of the ISO test to give to us, which was really sad. But to keep moving forward here, there's only 6 manufacturers in America that have these ISO tests done. It's none in China, none in the rest of the world. And we're sourcing from China, obviously. And so what happened is that Amazon was getting pressure by these American companies to make sure that solar eclipse classes had this ISO test, which I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. We should have the ISO test. Our product. It's our liability to have and make sure this product is up to standards. We just didn't know. We didn't know we were getting lied to by the manufacturer in China. And we were still young in the game and trying to figure this all out, right? So this was like our fourth product, still new to the game. And so we kept pushing this product out, but Amazon would come back and say, hey, you need this documentation to keep selling this. So they take us down. And we come back to them and be like, hey, we got all that documentation right here. Then we send it and they put our listing back up. We did this every 2 days or so. We did this in the end of July, beginning of August. And we get back up, we do a quick $50, $60, $70,000 in sales, then we get taken down, or hijackers would come, right? It's a very high volume product. So people are selling counterfeit goods on our listing, just terrible products, things like that. Ours were third-party tested, ours were good to go. I'm not saying we shouldn't have had the ISO test, we definitely should have had the ISO test, but we were lied to, we didn't know. We're working with the information we had. And so we kept pushing it and kept getting back up, and we kept selling. By the end of this, we'd ended up doing $1.3 million in sales, which I will throw up on the screen here somewhere, with about 60% margins. As you know, that's freaking life-changing money. That's absolutely ecstatic. We were riding a roller coaster of emotions this whole time, fighting, and trying to pack up, get out, get back in stock, take more money out to buy more goods, and then fight Amazon to get our listing back up there with this thing in the back of our head, like, questioning, are these glasses safe? What's going on? Trying to figure out what's going on in general. Well, by the end of this, Amazon's getting so much pressure from American manufacturers, things like that. I guess I don't know the details exactly, but from what I know, Amazon deems our glasses unsafe. And what they do is they say they're going to refund all the customers on Amazon for these glasses to make sure they're not liable for them, which I understand. And then they send us a bill by the end of this of $977,000. So they send us a bill. And our account said negative $977,000. At this time when this happened, I thought my life was over, right? Because we didn't have $977,000 because we spent a ton on marketing, getting products in. There's just a lot of overhead things going on when we're doing this. And so they wanted all this other proceeds back, essentially, everything but their Amazon FBA fees and their pick and pack fees. So me and my business partner that ran this, we thought our lives were absolutely just destroyed, over. And since people thought these glasses weren't safe, and Amazon sent out an email to all these customers saying they weren't safe, we were getting death threats essentially on our Amazon account saying we should be hung for trying to blind their children and things like that. So you can see how this is a hard story for me to tell, just because it got really dark. Because we had $1 million bill from Amazon, people are sending us death threats, and then at the same time we're trying to figure out if these glasses were safe and making sure no one was getting hurt with our glasses that we're selling. To kind of skip ahead, we went through 4 to 6 months with lawyers trying to figure out with Amazon, what is going on, our glasses safe, not safe. And so we went back and forth with Amazon trying to fight to get this money back. And about 6 months later, we ended up resolving this issue. The bad news is we went through 6 months of suffering where it was actually almost not worth it to do that $1.3 million in sales. The good news is that we actually got to keep the money. We're in the clear. Our glasses were safe. It doesn't mean we shouldn't have the ISO test, that liability. We should have more research with our manufacturer while we're still learning. They shouldn't have lied to us, of course, and faked documentation. But the good news is no one has ever gone blind looking at the solar eclipse. That's the good news there. No one, I think there's a case back in 1956, somewhere in that, where there's one recorded case of a guy going blind looking at the solar eclipse. And that was because he wasn't wearing glasses. So these glasses were safe. They were just a number 4 Weller's glasses. These were good to go to look at the sun. Well, it took us 6 months freaking out and essentially thinking our lives are over. It was pretty dark. It was pretty depressing to get we get thousands and thousands of emails, which I understand, right? I'm not justifying or trying to feel guilty for what happened to me, just because I know at the end of the day that I wanted to put safe products out there. I wanted to do good by others, and so that's why it was probably so hard for me and my business partner, just because we think we're decent, good people. And so by the end of this, luckily we resolved this thing with Amazon. We got to keep the money, which is great, and that's kind of where my Amazon success story comes from. Is we got to keep like 60% of that. Obviously, we split it 50-50. Pay taxes, which if you're making that much income, you know how much taxes are. It's like 40%, something crazy like that. But this is what fueled the rest of my Amazon FBA journey, right? Because there's a 6-month little window where we weren't really doing anything really. We had a couple clients, but that was about it. But after this, we kind of got a fresher breath of air, realized that we're in the clear, realized that we weren't really doing anything that wrong, that this was just a hiccup in the road. And Amazon actually does things like this all the time of trying to get money back. We actually got an Amazon lawyer within like the last 4 to 6 months, and they're the ones that kind of like, no, Amazon's in the wrong here, you are not. And then they made cases on our behalf, reached out to the Amazon lawyers, talked to them, which actually wasn't that expensive. Amazon lawyers aren't that expensive. It was just a couple $1,000s for our situation to get $1 million bill off our account. So we got that cleared from our account, got the money back. The lawyers said we're in the clear. Amazon does things like this all the time because we're new to the game still, right? We didn't realize how it worked. And so that's my Amazon FBA story. That's my success story. Again, $1.3 million is something to be really proud of, and most people would celebrate that, right? But mine came with a little asterisk for sure, especially mentally. It didn't scar me so much, but I don't know, it hurt a little bit, to be honest, and it kind of soured the whole thing for me and my business partner for sure. But we went on with that money to go ahead and start other Amazon FBA businesses. We did like 25 to 30 SKUs the next year with all that money. A mistake we made there, just kind of try to show you guys transparency that and try to teach you guys that not everything we did was perfect. When we started those 25, 30 SKUs, it was way too many. It was way too many. We didn't know what they're doing too much with that back in 2018. Some stuck, some didn't. Some failed. Some went on to be our best sellers now. So that was great in that aspect, but we wasted a lot of money trying to figure that out too. We're just trying to scale too fast. You don't want to do this. You want to start with one product, get that up and running so it takes care of itself, and then start the next product, then start the next product after that. You don't want to start too many products at once. It's just, you'll spread yourself too thin, they'll all fail, and that's what happened to us. So we wasted a lot of money figuring that out. Eventually now, we're actually down to, out of those 25, 30 products, we're down to maybe 5 to 10 of those, and then what we're doing is taking our best sellers and building around that horizontally. So our goal is to build brands around these Amazon products, because some of these Amazon products we started were great, were good products when we started them, but too much competition has come in. They're too high volume, so they attracted way too much attention, and they just weren't worth keeping up there. There's too much work. We had to fight daily to keep these things going. And so what we want to do now is start to build brands around our best selling products. That way we can keep our margins, start to build a brand off of Amazon. So the goal is now, and the thinking is now, the strategy is build Amazon for cash flow, right? Put a product on Amazon, start selling it there, use Amazon's massive customer base to get cash flow from selling this product, right? Start to get some money, start to get financially free, whatever your goals are, and then you can use that cash flow to build a real business, a brand, right? So start building products around this horizontally, start getting it on Shopify or whatever e-commerce website you want, and start building a brand there so you can protect your margins, because there's no guarantee on Amazon if products coming over are going to stay, or Chinese manufacturer going to start selling these products and everything like that. So there's still a huge advantage of Amazon, but there's things you need to know to make sure you're protecting yourself for the long run. And this is it. And that's why we're building a brand around our top selling products, because if we get them on our e-commerce site or Shopify or whatever, well, people who trust our brand, they're going to pay a premium price because they trust us, and they're going to go ahead and keep our margins up high, 40 to 50%. Where on Amazon, if more competition comes down, our price points get lower and lower, and we can't protect our margin. But with a brand, think of Nike or Adidas or any big brand with a higher price point than the generic goods on Amazon. Well, they have that, and they can keep their price point because they've built a brand. They have loyalty to their customers, and that's what we're trying to build. So I think Amazon's still the number one spot I would start with, but there's a new strategy coming. Kind of you got to think about with increased competition, and everything like that, is that use Amazon to get financially free and build cash flow. But the goal is to build a brand and build a business, a real business that you can diversify your income and protect yourself for the long run, because Amazon just it's a great tool to get started, but nothing is guaranteed on Amazon. So that is it. I'm gonna leave it there for you guys. I just wanted to share that story with you guys. Again, I've never shared this in public before. I don't know how people are going to react to it, but it was absolutely crazy, and that's how I got into the Amazon FBA field. $1.3 million is awesome, but it did come with an asterisk on my side, and I just wanted to share that to let people know that business and Amazon businesses aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. I made so many mistakes, and that's kind of what I'm trying to help other people avoid, just because we wasted so much money. We had so much more hassle. Like this whole scenario with the solar eclipse glasses, that we could have taken care of this within a month after August instead of waiting 6 months if I knew the things I knew now. If I just would have got Amazon lawyers quicker, which aren't expensive, I could have cleared this up so much faster and saved myself about 5 to 6 months of pain and misery. So that is it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope that story helped you out in your journey or give you some inspiration or whatever. But that is it, and we'll see you on the next one, guys. Take it easy.